We use SAFe, the Scaled Agile framework. So we already have a cadence. If it's SAFe now, I'm not a Scrum guy. I've used Scrum. I like it. I think it's a good idea. I'm not a SAFe guy. I haven't used it. I don't have a like or a dislike for it. I know people have strong opinions about SAFe, I'm sure. But apparently with SAFe, you have a cadence. There's a cadence set for the planning cadence, and then you do the work for over a quarter or whatever period of time you've decided to do, I guess. Again, I don't know SAFe well enough. Someone else can tell me, correct me if I'm wrong. But most certainly this customer, they had SAFe, they already have a cadence. How do we integrate OKRs with that? In this customer's case, their SAFe cadence was quarterly, and then they have like a planning cycle before that, right? So you start out at the start of the quarter and you do your work, but your planning cycle is 2 weeks before the end of the quarter, or 10 days or something like that before the end of the previous quarter, and they do their engineering and product planning. Now, the way I would work, there's no right and wrong answer to this. There's my answer and there's other people's answers, which might be the same, might be different. My answer is that I would focus OKRs on the management team, on the exec team, and what we're trying to achieve as an organization, and try and do it before the planning process of the SAFe cadence, right? Because that would be helpful. But sometimes it's hard to do it just right at the very start, but let's try and do it. And then use those goals as a feed in to what's happening in that process. Now, obviously, if you're doing any sort of discovery product work, a lot of that discovery and product work, working with customers and so on, customer interviews, things like that, a lot of that should feed into the strategy. A lot of those learnings should feed into the strategy. So you need to make sure you have a mechanism to make sure that sort of stuff bubbles up. In some cases, when you have these agile type frameworks, that bubbles up just to the point where you're making the plan for the sprint, and then comes back down again through that. And that's great. It's really helpful. It's a good thing. However, if you're going to have goals for the organization, you want to make sure that some of that, at least the most important parts of that, bubble up to the top of the management chain, so that those goals can be set with full understanding of what customers are doing, like what customers need and what's going to work in the organization. Otherwise, the goals and the strategy and all of the decisions, whether you're using OKRs or not, to be honest, but especially if you're using OKRs, you want to make sure that they're going to be informed by customer discovery. So make sure that that's being fed up, one thing. The second thing is try and set the goals at the management level with some of that input, like taking it into account as input, but then also as you're setting the key results are really helpful to integrate with the process of doing your SAFe or Scrum or whatever it is planning that you do for the quarter. So whatever you use, big rock planning, big room planning, big rocks, little rocks, whatever you're using, make sure that process is linked in, so that when we're talking about what key results we're going to generate this quarter, the people doing the work understand what it is and have some sense of realism about, can we actually achieve this? Is it possible? And are we planning to achieve this? Because otherwise you're at risk of setting the goals, but at the same time, the engineering and product team have created their sprint roadmap or whatever artifact you have with SAFe. You've created your plan, and they don't match. And you've got a goal to do one thing, and the team's doing a different thing, and they don't match. So you want to try and integrate them together, so that there's at least, at very minimum, you can pass the OKRs across to the planning process, so that you know what goals we're trying to hit. Ideally, you would integrate them so that planning process has a little more back and forth, and you can have some discussion about what you're trying to achieve, when, why, and how realistically it is, so that the goals, the OKRs, get set with full understanding of what the team is going to actually produce. The other thing to think about with this is that you don't have to line the cadences up with anything in particular. You can, like most organizations, for most things, use quarterly cadence, like calendar quarters, because that's how most financial services, financial reporting works. It's usually quarter-based, and hence that's how most customers work. They work on a quarterly basis, so budgets organized by quarter, and decisions are made on a quarterly basis. And if you have any sales, they tend to close in the last week of the quarter, all that sort of stuff. So quarters tend to be a pretty good selection for most purposes. However, different organizations do these things differently. And so sometimes you can have some sort of product and technical development framework that has a 2-week cycle, like a Scrum, a sprint, doing its 2-week sprints. You might have 6-week sprints. You might have 6-week, whatever other mechanism you use, 6-week cycles for that. You might have 6-month cycles, whatever you want to do, but choose the cycles that work for the situation you have. And the same with OKRs. I have come across organizations that have an OKR cycle, which is 6 weeks. I've seen them that is 3 months. I've seen that it's 12 weeks, not 3 months, just 12 weeks. And I've seen them that are 4 months, for 3 cycles a year, 6 months, and I've even seen one that had three-month quarters, or whatever they would call them, three-month cycles with a 1 month gap between each one. So the 1 month was there, we're not executing OKRs right now, we're just doing our planning and thinking, and everyone's having their holiday. They were French, so they had quite a lot of holidays, and they timed these things so that one of the breaks was Christmas, and then they have January, February, March to do the OKR quarter. Then they have April, which was the Easter break, where people would go on holiday, and they do the planning for the next one quarter there. They have April, May, June, July to execute, and then everyone goes away in August in Europe because it's summer. And so that was the planning time, and then they come back after the vacation in September, October, November would be the execution time, and December would be the break time again to do the planning again. So this cycle sort of continued around the quarter. I have a feeling that I've got my months slightly wrong there, but anyway, I think it's right. So, but whatever they did, that's how they did it, and it works. And the point is that some parts of your organization will naturally have calendar quarters. Some parts of your organization might be out of sync with that. They might be structured around school terms. It might be structured around university terms for that matter. It might be structured around just the holiday seasons. It might be structured around the vacation periods and like the peak periods for whatever business you're in. If you're in e-commerce, usually for most e-commerce, Q4, the fourth quarter, is really busy because that's when Christmas, and if you're American, you have Thanksgiving and all those kinds of things happen, Black Friday and everything else. It all happens then. Right, so lots and lots of sales, then everyone's really busy. But if you're in logistics, and you're in logistics for e-commerce, a lot of your business, unless you're in operations, but if you're in planning or in buying or in supply chain, like sourcing products, your busy time is Q2 because you have to get everything ready for Q4, right? So that's how those kinds of businesses work, and you have this annual cycle. But different kinds of businesses just have different cycles, and different parts of the business have different cycles, and that's okay. It's ideal if you can line them all up, and so everyone has the same cadence and so on. We're sort of stepping in lock sync, and we have a sequence where we decide this, and then we do this, and then we do that, and then we execute. And that kind of sequence is ideal. But at the same time, if you have these cycles so they're not too long, 3 months or so thereabouts, then the worst that happens is you get a little bit out of sync, and you have to adjust a bit or adjust the following cycle, and you can then start to slowly adjust and align things. Point to me is like get a cadence in. Get a cadence that seems to make sense and adjust it when you need to.